I'm really honored, like Greg over here. It's Greg, right? Yeah. He's just trusting that this has value because he found us on the internet and he's just here. So I promise something's good's going to happen. Right, that's right.
Did my Facebook ad work? Who came from a Facebook ad just for fun?
All right.
$26.
Wow.
And I had a great niche audience that I thought was like Facebook. Every now and then you run a Facebook ad and you're like, well, I should have just flushed money. Yeah. Am I good? Am I in frame? Yeah. Okay. He's like, oh yeah, you're taking up a lot of frame, buddy. But yeah, I guess we'll see how cool you guys are when we find out. You just randomly came, but yeah. I wanted to be sure that everybody knew about it, and
it seems like it worked.
The algorithm hasn't been very kind if you've been on the internet lately. Like Meta's algorithm the past 2 or 3 weeks has been pretty brutal.
I think it's only going to get worse, and that's actually one reason why this conversation is important. Terry was like, "What are we going to talk about?" The idea was to have an event. We didn't really have a plan.
That was the first.
Yeah, right. And then so
the second
communication.
Part was food.
Well, right, because that's what brings people. And then of course giving, right? So that always helps. But then communication, collaboration, and content are 3 C's that you aptly paired, put together. But there is an element of that without proper communication, collaboration, and content. There's going to be a gap in all of our businesses.
Right.
Depending on who we believe right now, the economy is weak or weaker, but I don't see anybody claiming that it's great. And so in a down economy, we all need strategies to be better today than we were yesterday so that we can continue to climb against the force of what might be, to some people when the glass is half empty, the force being against us. And so that's what we want to go over today. And I think you guys decided that I'm the content expert here. Is that it?
I think so.
Okay. And Jason, you are covering
communication.
Aptly so. And then, of course, that leaves collaboration for you. Do you have a dream and a vision on how you want to roll this out this morning?
I don't. I'm flexible. So whoever wants to pick a C, and I apologize for the C. I write frameworks for help people write books a lot. So, and I was a former pastor, so I can find you.
How many former pastors are in the room?
I can find you 6 or 7 C's, and thanks to ChatGPT finding things that rhyme.
Oh yeah.
My new thing is I'm getting bored by front letters, so now I'm like, let's end with phrases. So I just did a whole bunch of ables, relatable and actionable, and ooh, this is like next level. But they're memorable. Like we want you guys. One of my favorite quotes is a communication quote. Is from Andy Stanley. And if it's memorable, it's portable. And if it's portable, it's memorable. We want people to, when they encounter our business, to have a memorable experience. Even if it's bad, it can sometimes be good.
Well, it's okay. The bad press thing, I don't buy into. Let's sow seeds into good press. But yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes a good story or a good my happiest memories with people always start with. Do you remember that one time we did this thing together and everything was looking like this was going to be an absolute train wreck and we figured it out. You fell going in the door, but it was still amazing. We still made a lot of money. We still impacted a lot of people.
Yeah.
And in business, we live in a culture where everybody shows their highlight reels. And you think everybody lives these perfect lives and no one even looks like they do on Zoom now. Zoom now has the filter. And I had a Zoom meeting and I'm like, am I actually meeting with Barbie right now?
Hey, I accidentally turned on some filter that put a hat on me the other day. I didn't even know that was in there and I was fixing something.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I'm some dancing character. I'm
like, pirate hat on.
Yeah. Zoom has gone the way of the, what is that? The Snapchat filter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So whoever wants to go,
well, so let me tee some stuff up here.
You got this Spider-Man coat on. We'll let you.
All right, I'll start.
This is your office.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Josh Pies. This is actually my company. So we're in C47 Digital Studios right now, and we're sitting in Studio A. And I'm a little bit obsessive right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, on what it means to be communicating and collaborating through content, because, you know, how many people in the room feel the pressure to create more content and different content that you haven't touched yet, right? Okay, somebody has told you, whether it's an internet guru or a friend, maybe a friend who's crushing it in one area, oh, you got to do this, or it's some guru who's figured out how to have the algorithm keep bothering you that you've got to buy their course. And so many of these things are pointing to, and say really playing on an emotion that you need to become some internet celebrity. I mean, how many people feel the need to become an influencer right now? Right. And right, you know, so I'll raise my hand because I even fall prey to this, but I would challenge you later today, think about whether you've had this emotional moment somewhere inside where you feel like you've got to count the view counts. You got to count how many subscribers you have. You've got to, you know, weigh where you land on the scale of being a digital influencer. And that vexes me greatly at this point. And I mean, it doesn't even bother me. It vexes me. Because the reason it vexes me is there's a lot of people chasing this. Yeah. And, you know, it's the same thing. I talked to the head of the superintendent of Cleveland schools 6 or 7 years ago on a project. She and I spent 2 hours together. And she was explaining to me in a weird side moment that the number one career that students want in Cleveland is NBA All-Star. Not NBA player, not NBA bench sitter, All-Star. Wow. The number 2 career is rapper. Okay. And the number 3 career is influencer. All of these have to be written in because they don't even show up on the system. It's you check other and write it in that these are their career paths, and their ranking is 1, 2, and 3. And this is 5 or 6 years ago. I'm sure maybe influencer is ranked up more over rapper at this point. But the point is that our whole society is pointing towards the less than 1% as what we're kind of emotionally benchmarking ourselves against. Wow. And it bothers the snot out of me because we business people are all being told something similar, whether we're internalizing it deeply or not. So what we're doing here at my company is we don't even sell video podcasting anymore. We tell people, yes, that's what you're going to get out of it. But what we're selling is a business development tool. And the business development tool hinges exclusively on relationships. And that is where my ROI is. That's where your ROI is. And so when it comes to content creation, I'm trying to flip the script. I want content to come from relationships, not relationships to come from content. I think we've got it backwards as a society. And I'll say it again. The relationships come from not content, but from relationship building. And content will come, if you're open to it, from participating and collaborating and communicating well with people. Yes. So that you can then choose together to create some content. And even if you don't have willing participants, I'll pick on somebody I know in the room. So like Jill and I are in the same BNI group and we talk a lot about this stuff. And if maybe you weren't camera ready and you didn't want to do something on camera at some point, I could still choose to tell a very positive story about Jill without her being on camera that gives her a place of honor in my world. Yeah. And I maybe not even a name drop. You know, maybe just a close friend said something important that I want to share with the world, and then I later let you know that I shared it. That feels good, doesn't it? That our conversation mattered enough that I'm highlighting it for people that might see it. And maybe the view counts are 5. Maybe the view counts are 10. I'll tell you a quick story before I hand things off. I was telling you guys this morning. My friend Zipper, that's his name. Okay. His real name is Andrew, but he's gone by Zipper for 35 years. So his name's Zipper. He calls me after.
How did he get that name?
I chose not to ask, and I've known him for 30 years.
See, that's once again where the bad part, right? Like, clearly there was something that he had a significant moment in life that involved his zipper not being in the right place. I promise.
Yeah, and, you know, he's a rock and roll roadie, and he's cool, and so Zipper just works for this dude. But he calls me one day, and he goes, you know, I saw that video you did, and I'm like, I do a lot of video, man. I don't know what you're talking about. And he goes, hey, come on in, get in here. Okay, hi. All right. So get some food. So he says, Josh, I watched the video and I still don't know what video you're talking about because I quit my job. I'm like, oh my God, what? This job he had had for over 20 years. And he watched the video, and in one evening he decided that he was going to quit his job. And he calls me the next morning, and he is now jobless. And now I am scared. 1, he's got a wife and kids. 2, he credits me with this decision. There goes the friendship. So I was like, Zipper, what are you going to do? And he goes, no. He goes, I'm going to pursue my dream. I must have been, you know, kind of preaching by video, right? And I said, so in all seriousness, what's your plan? And he goes, well, I also immediately called after I quit my job, and I said, okay, called who? He goes, the person who has the keys to my dream job. I said, oh, okay. I was talking about leaps of faith. Got it. What happened? He goes, oh, I start Thursday. 9 views, 10 views. I was going based on somebody else's conversation that I had had, and they were challenging me on taking a leap of faith on some of my own business decisions. So I shared it with the world, and 9 or 10 views later, Zipper still, and this was just pre-pandemic, so 5-ish years later, still credits me with having done that major thing in his life, and that deepened our relationship in a way that I couldn't believe. So in that moment, and I've learned from my own lesson, I didn't plan this, I had a great relationship moment with somebody who challenged me.
Wow.
I thanked them by sharing it with the world and made sure that they knew I heard them. So I had relationship moment 1 solid, and it created content. Then off the content, Zipper goes and decides to change the whole thing, and that actually tightened our relationship even more. And we've been friends for years, but now we talk at a completely different level. And so it's a reminder for me, and sometimes I'll even tell myself this story, because occasionally I find myself going, why don't I have 100,000 followers? I don't need 100,000 followers. I need more zippers. Wow. Yeah. I need more moments. I need to drive value and change lives. And that, I'm a video podcast dude. I've made some movies. I don't need to change lives. I'm not a pastor. But if I affect people and that effect can be highlighted in content, I think I've finally figured out how to get it in the right order. And so that's where content is for me. Content is the after effect of you doing something remarkable. It is not the starting point to get people to think you're remarkable.
Wow.
And that's my mantra now. Really I hope I can. So so content, or actually relationships, are what create content, and the after effect of great content is not relationships, right? Okay, people shouldn't be wowed by our existence because we created good content. They should be wowed by our existence because we've created a know, like, and trust moment with them that's real relationship. Now, eventually you get so famous that you scale and you have to do something that's different, and it's a great problem to solve. Tony Robbins can't hang out with all of us, and he's got a huge business. And if that's your goal, you've got to start small. He started somewhere too. And that started with relationships. So not that I aspire to be Tony, but somebody in this room wouldn't mind that.
We spent a day with Tony for that reason, because we wanted to, we had that, one of the first, we hung out.
I did not know that.
We hung out at that thing that was at the Amway.
Oh my God.
And it was just
has anybody gotten those $39 tickets where you get to go to a major stadium and it's like Gary Vaynerchuk?
And I literally got on a plane because I wanted to see Gary V. And it was right as he was shifting his content from hustle porn to
that's what it is. Yeah.
To happiness.
Yep.
And doing work you love. And so I was like, man, this is a change that's happened to this man. I want to see it. I want to see it live. And Robert Herjavec. And I went because my whole life I'd seen Tony Robbins on TV and thought, I could do that. I want to do that. He's helping people. I saw 2 people growing up helping people, him and Billy Graham,
right,
on TV through content.
Yep.
Make an impact. And I went, I'd love to do that.
And in both cases, they started not where we know them from,
right,
but in relationship and smaller, and growing into it.
But I walked away from Tony going, he has a really good DJ. I mean, that was who likes Black Eyed Peas?
Yeah. Has anybody been there for one of those events? Ooh. There is nothing like having a 7'1" man with hands bigger than your head running around a room clapping and screaming at you that you need to jump around.
Yeah, I don't know what else
yes
said.
Sir, yeah, the yes sir moment when Tony walked right up to us. We were three rows away, elevated, and he was looking us in the eyes, and I felt like I was threatened. Yeah. It's a really interesting thing. It's
you actually were.
Kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. You were supposed to buy something and you didn't.
That's true.
You're still getting emails about it unless you've unsubscribed.
I have successfully unsubscribed.
Congratulations on that. I've not been able to do that.
So Terry, talk to us about collaboration then, because I believe the understanding, I can read the room right now. The understanding that content comes after relationships seems to be pretty clear, and society's had it backwards too long. But collaboration is some of what I was describing in some of my experiences, but you seem to be a master at collaboration. So how do we look at it? How do we implement it?
Leaders set tables. That's what this is. And this happened because I can't even carbon date where we met.
I have no clue.
It might have been through Mike Kim, but I think it was before then. Maybe we both just started connecting, and we're like, "Hey, are you in town?" And he happened to be in Franklin. I was like, "Let's skip whatever we're supposed to be at and go to lunch."
I still remember the Brussels sprouts.
Oh, see, well,
They were good.
we do Brussels sprouts well in Franklin, Tennessee. My wife and I, we're Brussels.
You
sprouts.
should be in marketing. That was amazing.
We always try the Brussels sprouts, and I judge a restaurant if they can make Brussels, because Brussels sprouts are kind of like, eh. But if a place has good Brussels sprouts, I'm like, this whole meal's going to be great. The steak will be fantastic if you can make a Brussels sprout great.
Okay. Yeah, it's
I'm going to make hats. Make Brussels great again. Big green hats.
I was gonna say, please make it green.
Big green, yeah. And oddly smelly, it'll have an odd.
Wow.
It's like the Lotso Huggin' Bear that smells like strawberries. It'll smell like.
Yeah, you have to scratch it to smell it, or is it just already smelling?
I don't know. I grew up with Brussels sprouts smelling like we had the Green Giant brand. Does anybody remember that brand?
Oh yeah, they were
and
gross.
they were in the butter pack, and I had a single mom, so I was a microwave kid. I was a latchkey kid and a microwave kid, so I burnt lots of those. Probably nearly set the house on fire with those. But collaboration, man, has always just been part of how I figured out how to do life and business. I don't do anything alone. I don't. Every idea I have, if it involves me doing alone, I typically go, I'm not going to do that. In fact, I just had a guy on my podcast by the name of Derek Sivers. That episode's about to come out, and he used to own a company called CD Baby.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and
wow.
he sold CD Baby for. Right as CDs were kind of on the way out, he sold it for several $1 million and got out and lives in New Zealand with his kid. He met this dude named Seth Godin. I got introduced to him from Seth, and he wrote this book called he has a book out called It's Either Hell Yes or Hell No. Huh. And that he only does stuff that either fits in one of those categories. It's either I clearly want to do this, and so when I was like I was going to be here, I was like Josh and I have kind of been ping-ponging about this idea. I was like,
yeah.
I could have found a hotel or a place to do this. I was like, let's do this together. Because collaboration is a lot more fun. Entrepreneurship is lonely.
How many people are on your own in business right now? Yeah, that's half the room.
Yeah. And it's really easy to be alone separate versus alone together. One of my favorite quotes is I built my entire coaching business off of this quote. The conference that you see there, the thing, is built off, if you want to go fast, go
alone.
If you want to go far, go
together.
And I wrote a book called Making Elephants Fly, and I studied this concept because that sounds.
Look at that!
Oh, look at that!
Wow!
She brought it with her. There you go. In a Publix bag, which really feels on brand for me. We're reading that book as a pleasure. But I researched this concept because it's one of those things that you hear people say, and it's in a graduation speech, and it's but when you think about that in the context of, because it's an African proverb, but when you think about it in the context of the African savannah, that has a whole new meaning. Because go far means arrive alive. Because if you don't have to be the fastest gazelle on the savannah, you just don't want to be the slowest. And I love watching documentaries about animals. I don't know if anybody else is obsessed with that. We're TV sleeping, huh? Are you? We're TV. We have 2 dogs, so they hear everything. So I'm used to sleep. We sleep with the TV on. I'm a marriage therapist. We'll probably tell you not to do that. But it's what keeps us sanity. But on the weekends, BBC on a Sunday night at about 1 a.m. switches over to just animals. And you can watch some nice British man talking about, the migration of penguins. And one of the things that came up that blew my mind was crocodiles and hippos. Which, if you don't know this about the hippo, they are the most deadly animal in the savannah. I'm actually writing a book. My next book is called The Pachyderm Principles. It's the only thing I'm writing alone right now. I have 3 other books in the work, and they're all collaborative projects. And but when a alligator or croc attacks hippos, it does not go well for them because all of the hippos become mama bear really fast. And that thing gets ripped in half like a paper shredder because because their space is threatened. And I've learned in community having people around you like that, because life gets hard, business gets hard. I've seen this community, endure some crazy things from our speakers and from, Jason's part of my mastermind. And, there's people just going through the worst life imaginable stuff, from like battling cancer. There is no water cooler for entrepreneurs typically to go to. There's nobody there to high five you, to help you with a meal train. Like the support that most people have in real life, entrepreneurs don't have. And so I've learned the importance of really another C, and that's community. And I think we're really shifting to a community-driven economy. The people that are willing to curate and find community, not just, you've got to have a seat at someone else's table, but you've got to be setting your own. And I know my job is to set tables, but I set tables for leaders who want to go. They're going to keep a seat at my table, but they're going to go start a table of their own.
Wow.
And I want to be the I'm trying to create an environment where leaders learn the skills and the place where they can do that, because community is what changes the world. We don't change the world alone.
Does community grow from collaboration? Is that
Absolutely.
what I'm hearing? Yeah.
Well, and it really grows from, like our story and other people's story. Like, how do we connect? I don't know. We did something, I landed in the airport yesterday, and I was wearing my shirt that says, I think at the back of that, actually, the shirt says that on it. It says, do your thing. And somebody literally, I posted this, is on all my social media platforms. It's gotten great engagement for once. But this person came up to me, and I saw this couple standing there, and, he was a small business owner. I could tell because he was wearing a Columbia shirt, had his embroidery on it, and she was like, she looked miserable as all get out. And she was just, we were there waiting for our bags, and I could hear her complaining about her job. And he said, you should just quit that stupid job. And I said, do it. And he turned and pivoted, and I had my do your thing. He's like, dude, we were waiting for a sign from God that we should do our own thing.
Yeah.
And here you are. And I'm like, well, I don't know that I'm your sign from God, but I'm at least a sign. And I'm definitely the person that's going to say to do your thing, because I want people, life, these people are in their 50s. I was like, when you die, your HR department's not going to miss you. They may have cake the next day you're gone, but the next day they'll clean out your desk, and there'll be there'll be a job post for your spot. No one will miss you, and that's just the sad reality. And so, if you can make a difference with your life and do work that matters and help other people do work that matters, and that's really what I feel like my another C calling is to help people do work that matters, and to find other people that are doing it so they don't have to do it alone. The Avengers never try to save the world alone. They always put out the
Spidey had to do something, right?
They had we still don't know what Spidey does, but he always shows up with the rest of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and he's there, and he looks good in a suit, and he normally has a good-looking girlfriend that he brings along for fun. All of the Spidey, that's always happened. And oddly enough, Stan Lee is somebody who talks about how much happiness is in doing work you love with people you love. One of the last interviews he did, that was one of his, like, I'm going to tell you guys this, is I want your life to be about doing work you love with people you love. And that's what collaboration is all about. Sure, you can do it alone. Sure, there's all these things you can do alone, but it's a lot more fun when we can get together and do things together and collaborate and find ways to help. All three of us could have done this event alone and probably had the 10 people that we were talking about.
Sure.
But together, there's more of us here. We're able to and Josh was like, you guys will just speak. I was like, no, I want you to speak too, because you have something brilliant to say. And all of these guys have spoke at the thing, and they've been a part of our community. And so, Jason.
Communication really ties all of this together. How do you recruit the community? How do you recruit the collaboration? And how do you curate it through collaboration? Communication.
So good. Oh, and that's where the power of communication is, right? And I can remember my first concert I ever went to. Grew up in the city of Detroit. My parents took me to a concert at Fox Theater with an old-time rocker, Bob Seger.
Wow.
And I'm way in the back deck, and I'm watching, and I'm probably 11 years old. This is 83 or 82 or something like that. I'm a little bit older. And so I'm watching, and I'm like, this is amazing. Look at all these adults. They're screaming, and they're yelling. And of course, I think there's some substances that help them. I didn't realize that.
It's a Bob Seger concert, man.
It's a Bob Seger concert. But at the very end, Bob Seger starts talking, and the whole place goes quiet. And I can remember thinking at 11 years old, this is what communication does. Like this, I mean, the whole place was quiet. And I went home the next day, and I built a stage in my parents' basement. And I would bribe my neighborhood friends with my mom's world famous chocolate cookies. I'm like, listen, you want Shelly's cookies? Like, trust me. And they would come and they had to sit and listen to me. So I would do like stand-up routines. I would do like Billy Graham routines. I would do sales routines from my stage at 11 years old. My parents still have them on cassette tape.
No way.
It is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
But I can remember.
I'm going to have to get a hold of
It's so good.
Call Mom tomorrow.
I can remember that long ago thinking this is the power of communication and how it can speak to people. And probably about 15 years after that, I started in my head developing this concept of speaking with people, not at them. And I think that's the beauty of it. When we speak with people, we breathe life into them. We extend joy. We paint a picture of things they can't understand. When we speak at people, we suck the life out of them. And here's communication's dirty little secret for your business, especially for content. If you want influence, then be an at-hole is what I call it. Like when you speak at people, I call them at-holes because I'm like, everybody.
All right.
You know, sorry.
I hear that.
But if you want views, right? Like trash somebody else, spread drama, everybody, nobody pays attention to the hundreds of planes that are taking off every day. But the one that has a flat tire or, God forbid, a crash, we're all about it. So communication's dirty little secret is the more that you communicate poorly about people, you attack their character. I mean, all those different kind of things, people are like, but the healthier you are in the long run. And so that's why, like my business, we encourage leaders to become exceptional communicators. Because when you do, you can build content that actually people are hungry for. And then when they collaborate and they build this community, it's powerful. And so for me, that's everything. Like I don't want to just be an effective communicator. And so often when we think about being an effective communicator, it's this, right? Speaking in front of people. And really, like for us, it's way more than that. Me as a leader, I want to help leaders be a well-rounded communicator. So whether you speak one-on-one, whether you speak to a team, whether you speak from a stage or from a screen, because that's so many of us now, we're just on a screen all the time. Are we speaking with people in a way that captivates them, draws them in, that actually helps them? And so for me, like in order to accomplish that, like you really got to speak from your inner world. Because if you're going to keep going on with communication's dirty little secret and just being an ineffective communicator and speaking out of fear and aggressiveness and force, yes, people will follow you. It's really the dirty little secret. But after a while, they're going to walk away because nobody wants to be spoken to out of manipulation and fear and aggressiveness for a long period of time. And so the reality is, if you're going to speak with people and really harness the power of communication, you got to speak from your inner world. And if your inner world's not healthy, what comes out of your mouth is not going to be healthy. Yeah. And we probably can all list off communicators, leaders that we know, that every word that comes out of their mouth is just dripped with negativity, attacks, all that kind of stuff. And so do the hard work as a leader and a business owner. That's what I've had to learn the last couple of years. And that's why I got a part of the thing, because I needed that community, because I was out there on my own going, I don't, what am I doing? And then I got a part of this network that kind of brought me in and went, okay, wait a minute, I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. There's other people that are going through the same thing, and together we can encourage each other. And for me, I was like, okay, I've got to protect that inner world, so what's projected. And then, I got to speak with every tool that I was created with. And each of us as leaders, if you're going to win with your clients, you're going to win with your families. I mean, so many of us, we only think communication is our words. Only 7% of a conversation is words. 38% is your tone. I mean, if you're like me, I've had 5 kids, I've parented preteens and teenagers and now young adults. Tone is a lot, right? Like, I mean,
I have a 15-year-old. I hear tone.
Tone can get you in some big time trouble. So as a communicator, how is your tone come across to your clients? How does your tone come across online when you're communicating? Yeah. Do you come across as a know-it-all? Or are you really out there to help other people succeed? And so I think the other big giant principle that I've learned about this, speak with the tools that I was given. John Mayer, God bless him, he was so right. Like, your body is a wonderland. Like, why?
I don't know where this is going.
Here's Here it comes. Here it comes. Why are we not communicating with our bodies? Because we've been designed with something that's so unique to us. I can remember forever.
Does that mean you have to be on camera?
I mean, it could be. It could be. But use every tool that you have.
Yeah.
55% of your communication is your body language. So if you're sitting with your clients and your arms are crossed the entire time, even if it's comfortable, it doesn't matter because it's the universal signal, of like defensiveness. If I'm staring at somebody or if I'm not looking at, this is all, or if I'm sitting with a client and hold on. Yep. Oh, yep. Hold on. Like we're so obsessed with our technology. It's like, put it away so we can be able to collaborate and do these kind of things. And then for me, it's, I got to speak with my words because the right words open up doors. They build relationships. They close deals. Words are absolutely amazing. And so you either spew your words or you can use words that help people. And so especially in collaboration, in community with people, as you're working on your content, it's just amazing what the power of communication can open up for you. And I'll just say this as I finish. I do a lot of corporate training. So I go into companies like Flagstar Bank and Regions and PNC and Huntington Bank and for whatever reason, lots of banks. Turns out people in the money industry care about customer service and client communication skills. Haven't quite figured out why yet, but they're really passionate about that. And I was in New Jersey a couple weeks ago, and I'm doing this leadership communication workshop, and a gentleman kind of right over to my side, older gentleman, he's probably got me by 10 years or so, and he comes up to me at the break, and he's like, I got to apologize. I'm sorry. He's like, I didn't want to be here. Who the heck cares about my communication? Like, I've been a financial advisor for 25 years. I'm making great money. And in my talk, we talk about our communication deficiencies. So we've kind of identified 10 unhealthy communication behaviors that put up a wall between you and the people you're trying to communicate with. And we don't even see them all the time because communication's like breathing, right? We breathe all day long, but how often do I pay attention to every breath? It's not like I'm going to my gratitude journal and I'm like, at 12:34, that breath was amazing. Like, goodness, that breath was so good. No, we're not doing that. It's like communication, right? We've done it for our whole life. And Peter comes up to me and he's like, you start talking about those deficiencies. And I started thinking about a conversation with my wife who told me that I don't listen. And for 15 years, I've told her she was wrong. He's like, I listen fine. And then, though, he started thinking about, wait a minute, what if my clients don't think I listen to them? And as soon as it was tied to his revenue, like all of a sudden it was this, he's like the rest of the time, he's just like taking notes and he's like, he's doing everything. But it's just amazing how the power of communication can open up doors, can create those opportunities. And I love that story of who knows, that video you put up, depending on what your industry is and the power that it has to change somebody's life.
Yeah, so I want to dig in a little bit with communication because I know, like I said, about half the room in here, and one of the things I've talked with a couple of you about is, and I know your relationships are real and you intend to have relationships, but the challenge that I put out of turning those relationships into content is probably hitting a brick wall emotionally for you right now because it's hard to imagine getting in front of the camera or writing that thing and doing something that suddenly feels maybe a little extroverted, maybe a little out of your lane. And so, of course, I'm going to challenge you to just try it today. Do a relationship moment online, just figure that out. But being somebody who can take over that part of their life and actually take charge and be a communicator is not easy, and for some people, very not natural. What can we do today to be a more effective communicator? Again, with this notion in mind that maybe we're really comfortable with relationship communication.
Yep.
We could always get better, but we're pretty comfortable with it.
Yep.
How can we bring that into the business world and start doing this content play with relationship?
Oh, that's so good. Anytime you speak in front of people for whatever reason, it just feels like to me after all these years, your influence just rises. It's this amazing thing. And so I met a woman I was coaching a couple years ago named Joy. She worked for the same company for 15 years. She told her boss, I'll do all the behind the scenes stuff. I'll never get up front. And 15 years of that, she was hitting it out of the park. And so the boss finally decided, hey, it's your turn now. At the regional meeting, you're going to be the one to present. And her life fell apart. She lost weight. She stayed up late at night because she's like, I can't speak in front of people. Like, this is horrible. Hated her boss. Like, she's just like the whole team. Everybody was agitated with Joy. And
Can you say that phrase again? I just enjoy that. Everybody was agitated with joy.
everybody was agitated with joy
That's great.
because she just, I mean, her whole life was falling apart. So I think for us though, especially if you're a leader and you want to use communication to help your business grow, you've got to accept that mantle. That filming that video, writing the blog post, doing the reel, speaking at a BNI or a Chamber of Commerce, or look for any opportunity you possibly can to get in front of people, because every time you get in front of people will help cause you to be a little bit better. It might scare the crap out of you. You might not know what you're doing, but if you have the right framework, you prepare and you just kind of change your mentality that way. Just shift it a little bit. Instead of, I just interviewed a brilliant woman on my podcast about mindset, and she's like, you got to start putting yet in every sentence. I haven't done it yet. Instead of saying I can't do it, say I haven't done it yet. I haven't experienced that success yet. And so same thing with communicating in different forums, especially with content. Just take little tiny steps every single day. I love James Clear 1%, So if it's, I love your, was it Greg? Greg, yeah, I love your business because my dad built furniture and you make hand furniture. I can just imagine in my content world, my little creative brain going, oh, it'd be so much fun. Film, around that blanket chest or the desk or whatever you do. And then, overlaying, isn't it powerful when you lend something from one generation to another? I just think about, so much of the cool content that your company probably already does. I don't know you at all, but just even if you don't, just taking those steps to utilize that and stop telling yourself that you can't do it.
Sure.
We may not all be Simon Sinek or, whoever the greatest, public speaker is. But when you just get to that place where you're like, you know what? Yeah, I can learn how to do this. It's a new muscle. I'm going to figure it out and just take the steps.
And your idea for Greg has high production value involved. The idea is he has a gimbal in his mind. There's lighting, there's really good microphones, and there's a small crew. And what I would say is don't go there. And, one of the things that I'm trying to be better about for myself, because I'm always challenging myself to get more involved in my own content. True story, when you own a business with a whole bunch of really great filmmakers, you can delegate your content. And so that means I also sometimes step a little too far away from it. And so recently, one of the things I'm telling myself is that I actually owe content to my relationship partners.
Wow.
So and again, back to the Jill story that I made up a moment ago, if we're having a great conversation and I realize the world ought to know it, and especially if I feel clear that I can give credit, then I don't need to do it for me. I need to do it for her. And we've done this on your podcast, and we're talking about doing some of it now. And I'm starting to have more conversations with people where I realize it might be my show, but it's not about me at all.
Absolutely.
And because I'm really drinking this Kool-Aid, I'm actually believing it. It's not just because, givers gain, and if I give somebody the opportunity to speak, then they feel indebted to me and I get it back. There is some psychology there that some of that actually happens. But I actually feel it so deeply that I find myself now more than ever doing it naturally. And so I think that's the mindset shift for me, is that, if relationship precedes content, and in my relationships, I'm committed to better communication, and I have goals of collaborating more deeply, that's all well and good, but I have to take some action on it. And if I sow seeds in raising the public presence of my peers, and not only giving them a place of honor on my show, but also thanking them and sharing their wisdom with others in other ways as well, it's great relationship moments for the initial source relationship. That's what has to be paramount. If I never get views, but maybe I got the one of the person that I tagged who was a part of that original conversation, I've done the right thing. And doing the right thing is always the right thing.
And since we're giving out C's, the other C is capture. Is when you're creating, and all of you are creating something, whether it's a sale, a relationship with a client, a spreadsheet that they get that shows their P&L at the end of the month, a real estate transaction, a investment opportunity.
Yeah.
All of that at the right times deserves to be captured. That content that's happening of you making the furniture,
Yeah.
You know, I can't think about the thing and not think about Liz Wilcox, who's staring at our faces right now. And, you know, I am not taking credit for Liz's success. I just happened to be in the room when it happened. And Liz came to the thing in 2019. She was living in Daytona Shores at the time. And it was a few weeks before, and I was like, I met her through a buddy of mine named Jeff Goins, who's an author speaker. And at the time, she was his VA.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I knew she was, sorry, Jeff, I knew she was miserable. And I knew
Jeff's a nice guy, but he's very
she
high
was
energy.
itching for more. And at the time, she had just written a book about pooping in RVs. And was beginning to wanting to do more because she lived in, the first episode of her on my podcast was, I live in an RV down by the river. Because, you know, Chris, for all that you have to. And she came to the event. I think I promoted actually in Mike Kim's small group, Facebook group. And I said, hey, I'd love to have anybody. And she reached out and came and sat and had her pen smoking all the time. And every time there was a break, she would sit down with a speaker because our speakers are in the room, and she would pick their brain. And she sat down with two of our speakers and said, hey, I've got this summit coming up. I really want to sell it because it's really successful, but I need to have some more revenue tied to it. And this speaker happened to know how to make sponsorships happen. And so she sat down with them and figured out how to figure that out. Literally went home on the next week and sold like $60,000 in sponsorships to her virtual summit. Wow. And then that attracted a buyer and began her on a path of repeated success. And, you know, now she comes back as a speaker. She's coming back as a speaker this year, having just been on Survivor 46.
Yeah.
And the whole community is going to celebrate her and her action. Because we've created a culture in our community of not just collaboration, but of also celebration. Yep. And we want to celebrate the fact that she takes action. And it wasn't the fact she got on Survivor because her daughter challenged it. And she began to exercise that muscle of action.
Yep.
And you want to be in a place where the people around you are creating an environment that are pushing you and not allowing you to settle. And, you know, I'm not here to promise you that if you come to the thing, you're going to be the next Liz Wilcox. Because if you've met Liz, you probably, in your right mind, would not want to be the next Liz. You know, like there's a lot going on between those ears. And she's an amazing human, an amazing single mom. And, you know, obviously through her success, if you watch Survivor, she was the one with the Applebee's joke. She's allergic to literally everything, like including like basically her own skin. Like she found that out at our conference because she had salsa and was like, that's my favorite thing in the world. But apparently I'm allergic to tomatoes. So like wow. She doesn't like, we don't even try to cook for Liz anymore or have the hotel do it. She just packs her lunch and we're good. But she's an example, and now she runs a $9 a month membership that she makes close to $750,000 on. You can go to lizemail.com, sign up for it. It's the best $9 I spend in my business. It's $9 a month that she teaches you how to, you know, send emails that people actually pay attention to. And so I want to be someone that is helping people create and celebrating. That's what content really does.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had amazing people on my podcast, from Seth Godin to Derek Sivers on, and these best-selling authors.
To Josh Pies.
And Josh Pies. And I haven't had Jason. We haven't done it.
Fail.
Yeah. I've been on his show.
Yep.
And that's the thing with podcasting. It's like you forget, honestly. It's like I know we've talked about it, we just never scheduled it. And that's trying to find those 2 days where it's like, are you free this day? Can we do this day? But yeah, you want to create an environment where, like, my favorite thing to do is to get on an episode and talk about the wins people are experiencing. And I know I'm not the one that made anybody win. You're the one that has to take the action. I'm just hopefully going to be the one that places my foot firmly someplace that might help you actually go leap into the next thing you're supposed to do.
Well, cheerleading, accountability, partnership, friendship, you know, all of that's part of
But sometimes it's dude, I mean, Jason and I have those phone calls where it's like, hey, dude, you know, I just stopped yesterday. I was like, dude, you're living your dream life. There are people who have your life right now on their vision board. And, you know, you're in Iowa or somewhere hating life for a moment, you know. with back pain and talking about travel and like. But I think that's the thing is we are all doing the things. Most of us are here doing work we love. So let's find communities and places. And so before I forget, because it's my wife will be like, did anybody sign up to come to the thing? There's a code. I want you to write it down. Barbecue24. Pretty simple. At the Thing Orlando, and that gives you 20% off your ticket. It's just for you guys. It's the cheapest way. It's almost what the people in my mastermind are paying for the conference. I mean, it's the cheapest way you'll get a ticket to the thing. I'd love to have you guys come. It's at Disney Springs at the Wyndham there. So most of you don't even have to get a hotel room if you don't want to. Although if you don't want to drive in Orlando traffic, you can for 2 nights and not have to. Most of the people from Orlando get a room and just be like, I don't want to drive home. Takes an hour. I'll stay here. And it's literally, we walk across the street to Disney Springs. It's thethingorlando.com. Barbecue24. And you guys can take a card and a pen. And that website is thething.live, and there's a button that says Orlando if you get on that website. But yeah, we would love to have you guys join us, and hopefully get plugged into other people. I love the fact that the work that we all get to do, the byproduct of the relationships we have, are success and sales, but the real win is the relationship.
I was going to say, it's cool that it's the byproduct. So, and I want to respect time. We're at 12:48, and we said this was going to be done at 1. So one thing first of all, that was cool. I didn't know you were going to do the discount code. I go to the thing as often as I can as well, and I've had the privilege of speaking there, and it is effective. But one thing that you can do today is we're in a room of people who chose to come to have a conversation about this stuff. Don't leave without making a networking connection today. That person that you meet and you exchange contact information with might be your next accountability partner, the next relationship that matters for your own business growth, not a sale necessarily. It could lead to that, sure, but it might be that next je ne sais quoi that is the difference for your business. Yep. So don't leave. I can guarantee half this room doesn't know the other half of this room. So there's somebody that is new for you.
Intentionally go find someone that you don't know.
Yeah. And this giant sign-in over here, the intention behind that was I wanted a big enough board that you could take a picture of it and walk away with everybody's name. Okay. And that might not work. Everybody, how many people actually signed up and how many crashed the party? So signed up. All right. Crashed the party. Okay, so there's that's cool. No, and I need to know because we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to see each other's name and email, if that's okay. If you don't want that to happen, see me before I do it, okay? Yeah. Because one of the things about this intention behind us getting together is we're not here to harvest your information. We're here for all of us to harvest the opportunity to be with each other. That's more valuable than this, kind of one-way street, right?
And one of my core values is we're all one relationship away from a different life. There's someone in this room that can open a door that's closed for you right now.
Right.
There's someone who knows. I do this exercise with my coaching clients all the time. It's like, I want you to know how many people you're 1 degree away from. She mentioned, I love Jody Benson, who's Ariel. And I'm like, well, I know Jody. She lives in my town, and she uses the same podcast studio I use from time to time. I got you, girl. I can make the magic happen, right? And so that was because we had a relationship. She made an ask. Now I'll have to jump through some hoops and call a guy, and the guy will have to do a thing, and I'll have to send him this, and I'll owe the guy lunch. But it's a thing that we do for the relationships that we have.
Right.
Now, granted, you may not want an autograph from Jody Benson. You probably actually want a sale or a relationship in business. But if you go and introduce yourself, meet people, connect with them, get connected on social media or whatever, whatever your platform is, stay connected.
Yeah.
Those connections will actually, it may not be this year, it may not be this week. There's people who I'm meeting, who I'm connecting with again that I met 10 years ago at a conference. I met KP in Lima, Ohio, which is...
You just blinked. You don't even remember where you met him, huh?
No, I do.
He knows. Okay.
If you've been to Lima, Ohio, you know when you've been there.
Oh. Sorry, Ohio.
It shouldn't be a memorable place, but it very much is.
Because someone chose to build something there to gather remarkable humans together. And from that, relationships happen. So, now KP is like, hey, dude, I'm in. I saw him sign up. I was like, yes. I wanted you to be here because I knew you were coming in November, and I wanted you to get connected and to meet people. I want people to get to know each other. I don't want I don't need to be the center of your world. Josh doesn't need to be the center of the world. I need you to get connected with other people so you guys live here. You can connect, you can serve, you can help. You can go, this is guy's a critter guy. Someone has a squirrel in their attic right now, and this guy can fix it for you. And if you've ever had a squirrel in your attic, you would know that you wanted to call someone to come and fix it.
How do you handle hippo problems?
Yeah, see, I don't do that.
Okay. All right. So you're in the right city then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
They are.
but if you knew someone had a hippo in their backyard, he'd at least go and he'd go and.
Hey, I'd check it out.
Speaking about content, he would capture that content. He may not capture the hippo.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'd bring a watermelon.
Just watch them crush that. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite content pieces online is Fiona, the hippo from the Cincinnati Zoo.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite follows on the internet. The Cincinnati Zoo has a great channel, and it's mostly this hippo that was a little baby, hippo, and now weighs 7 tons or whatever. So, not so cute anymore. But that
Terrifyingly adorable.
That tells you the things that people care about, and there's probably someone else that cares about the weird things you care about. And I like to assemble the weirdos. I call them mavericks. They're people who have a different way of thinking. But most of us, what we do is weird. This is weird that we would stop in the middle of the day and hang out with other business people and interrupt. This is a weird thing. Normal people are going to a job they don't like and wondering, is it Friday yet? They're counting down the days that until Labor Day weekend that their life might have some fun in it. And you guys are choosing to do work that you love and you care about. So you've already won by doing that.
Does anybody want to talk about something that's on your mind from all of this, or do you want to just get back to the extra food that's in the kitchen?
I really wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Because you were saying about we have to say yes, and I saw a video this week and it said our dreams are just memories of our future self. And I feel like everything
Wow, that's good.
Yeah. Jean-Paul Sartre, the philosopher, once said that you are who you will become. And so, not that we want to go too down the road of Nietzschean philosophy, but that era of philosophers were really adept at talking about how what you believe about the world around you and what you believe about yourself, perception becomes reality. And so, the yet thing that you're hinging on and that you brought up is critical to our own psychological buy-in on what could and should and probably will happen if you commit to just shifting that little mindset thing to leveraging yet.
And some of you are going, I didn't learn a sales tactic today. I didn't learn anything practical. And I can tell you the things that you learned today are probably 3 of the most important things that will actually change your business. If you find a community, if you learn to dedicate creating a master, he uses a method that's, you have a master, a top of pyramid piece of content that becomes the bits and pieces of everything in your business and pieces and ways to storytell. Mm-hmm. And, and you actually become a great communicator and leverage speaking with people, not at them. If you do those 3 things, you will be in the 1% of success in business very quickly.
Prolific.
And it's really easy to think about these things, like even mindset, I grew up, every time I hear the word mindset, I'm like, okay, put your crystals down and step back, okay? I'm not here for that, But it really is. If the first thing I have to fix in anyone's business, when I sit down and do a coaching day with most people, is their mind. I can give you all the tactics in the world. I can give you every shortcut, every principle, every sales piece. I can tell you how to make the algorithm. I can do it. But if your mind isn't, if you don't believe that you can do it, belief is the most powerful thing we give to another. You believe in yourself enough to get yourself here. So, I believe many of us are here on borrowed belief. Somebody believed in us. Someone said you should go and do that, and you did. And so, the one thing I always ask people when we gather in places like that is thank the people that spurred you on, that gave you that borrowed belief. So,
It was great.
All right. Well, we are hitting the hour right now. So what I'd like everybody to do is take the homework assignment, find somebody you don't know, and connect with them before you leave. That's your ticket out the door today. We'll lock this place, okay? Another thing that I'd really like you to do is also make sure you hit the giant sign-in.
Actually, before we do that, can I throw?
Yeah.
Can we give that man a camera and all of us come up here really quick in front of your cool
Oh, yeah,
on
yeah,
top
yeah.
wall and take a photo. Can we do it?
Miller, you want to just use your phone or do you want mine? Okay, cool. So, all right.
Let's-
This gets everybody out of their chairs. Get up
Yeah,
here.
let's get you up. Let's do a quick photo. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go to